dropping down. They'll play MVP Phoenix. Cloud9 dropping down to play Vici Gaming, who knocked out former winners Na'Vi, and Virtus Pro and Invictus Gaming are the last two teams to go into the bottom half of the bracket. They'll, of course, wait for the two matches to finish today in the upper bracket before we figure out who they're playing. But we will look forward to the Secret versus eHome game. First time we get a chance to see Secret in the arena and playing in the main event. There's been so much hype. I don't think it would matter whether you knew what Dota 2 was. You'd probably know that Team Secret are pretty good at the game because there's been so much written about them over the last 3 months.
I think he said his girlfriend actually started cheering for Team Secret. And
really?
And she has no idea what
Dota. And I was like, are you coming?
That's brilliant.
You want to, because she was there like the whole day yesterday. And she was like, I'm going to come watch Team Secret, of course. I'm like, what do you mean, of course? So the hype is real around Team Secret.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. Yeah, it's been very widespread. I know, friends in other games have all been talking about Secret this, Secret that, Secret. What is it that makes them such a fantastic team? I know individually they're fantastic, but what is it that makes them such a successful team? Who wants to take on that one?
They're legends. I mean, I know I've said it yesterday, but they are actually, like, you have Poppy, you have S4, you have RTZ, you have Zai, you have Kuroki, like, is there one player you can't really, is there one player you can forget to mention? Like all of them. But I'm really looking forward to see. I think if I had to pick two favorites for winning two TIs, it would be Poppy and S4, both of them. So and they're in the same team, which makes it easier for me to predict.
Yes.
So
does make it much easier. Yeah. Well, we've talked about the whole trying to do a double and win another championship, obviously at the international. So that, I think, is a strong possibility this year with the players that we've got left and the teams that they're in as well. So, other than that, Arteezy, what can you say about the man? He's outspoken. He does say what he thinks.
Yep.
But at the same time, he might just be the brightest star in the game as well.
I think the way he plays the carry speaks for itself. He's like one of the best at the current meta. He's very efficient. He participates a lot. He pressures a lot. And he knows his limits most of the time. So he's been making so many plays that normally you wouldn't see it from a carry because he's just that confident and he knows his limitations very well.
In a sporting angle, there aren't many large icons that can kind of compete with the likes of, thinking down the years, Michael Jordan, for instance, any of the big basketball stars, Kobe Bryant would spring to mind as well as being one of those legendary players. We're starting to form those seeds within Dota 2 now of those kind of players. I can't remember where the quote comes from, but someone told me that within 3 years, Arteezy will be worth more than $40 million. And I'm inclined to agree with them. I really am, because he could actually be the superstar of Dota 2. Any disagreement?
He was considered as one of the best, if not the best, mid laner. And now he's playing carry. He's probably one of the best carry in the tournament. I mean, what can you ask for that guy? He is insanely good, and he's more mature right now. I've seen an interview recently from him, and because back in the days he was a bit, willing to fight. He was very like this, a bit too fast at taking decisions. But now he matured a lot more. He's very calm when it comes to the games, and it makes him even more scary to play against.
Well, you can see Evil Geniuses are returning to their booth, which is good news for us, good news for you at home, good news for you here at the Key Arena. And their opponents will be joining them very shortly from Complexity Gaming as well. Chance for them to have had their break and get back into now. Obviously, we're not had an update just yet on the issues, but hopefully we will fairly soon. Those guys are going to get themselves settled in there. We'll continue to talk about them. And Secret as well. Interesting, of course, that Arteezy's got that link with his old teammates. We heard PPD talking about that earlier on. I get the sense that he obviously wasn't very happy because it's sort of like, it feels like you've been betrayed when you lose a couple of teammates, especially when you've put so much faith in each other in that 5. But sometimes it's better for you. Sometimes it works out better. They would never have found Sumail, for instance, and brought him into the team. So maybe things are okay now.
Yeah, I mean, as he said early, they're friends, but when it comes to actually playing against each other, they definitely want to beat each other even more. Yeah. I think there's definitely going to be some salt when you stick together and want to go the entire year and then things don't end up working. It's hard to argue which is better, to change the team or to keep trying, because if it doesn't work at all and you feel that it's not going to work, then sometimes you can just get completely stuck if you don't change.
Yeah, because it's a team game, so every decision you make, you leave a team, you go towards another direction, it's affecting everyone else. It's not only just you. So
Yeah.
it affects everyone.
Yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it, to change over. But how do you feel that EG have done that with the loss of Arteezy? How do you feel they've actually transitioned?
I think they transitioned really well. They found Aoi and Sumail, which are great replacements towards end. They play very similar in the sense that they are very aggressive and they fit the void really well.
Yeah, Stu seem to have settled down. Tournament result-wise as well, I mean, couldn't have asked for any more from the new boys in EG, could you?
No, not really. I mean, they're really, really strong players. Every individual on EG and Secret, we're talking about two extreme top teams. The two teams that people from the West would mention as favorites going into TI. So, of course, losing Arteezy, maybe that was a big thing for him. But they have created a new team that is really strong as well. I think EG are definitely confident.
Yeah, flip this question on its head a little bit. Had Arteezy stayed in EG, would Secret still be favourites for the international right now? Or would EG?
I actually think they would have kept finding new players until they found something that worked. Question is, how many of those players are there out there?
Yep.
So that's such a hard question to answer. I think no, but they rotated a lot before they knew what was going to work for them.
We might not see like the rivalry between EG and Secret if that actually didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So who knows?
Always good to see those popping up. Makes it easier for us to enjoy the games and split our allegiances as well. Ehone, though, we've talked a lot about China. Did fantastically well on day one, of course, with two of their teams going through to the semi-final of the upper and a team going through the lower as well. So where do you put Ehone in all of this? Because, the legendary name says it all. We know what they did in TI1, but haven't really seen much from them in the last couple of years. Reformed at the start of this year, and they've changed players since then as well already, which doesn't bode well, does it, heading into the international?
I just feel like people tend to forget Lanham. To me, it's one of the best players out there. It's always been. He's exceptionally good he's super experienced. He's been captaining teams. He's been not captaining, and switching from captaining to just being one of the other players is not that easy. It requires a lot of, I'd say, human skills. So I'm very impressed and doing well with. Obviously, if you switch role and you do awful, then it's different. But he's played many different roles. He's played solo mid for Rattlesnakes. It was for TI3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was 2. TI2.
TI3, they knock us out.
Oh.
the pain is still here. I remember that. But I mean, he's very experienced, and now he's a support player now, and he's obviously doing super well. Him and RTK, they have the experience they need, to share with the others. The more mechanically, the more young talents.
I like CTY a lot. I mean, people used to make fun of him a lot. It's like win the lane, lose the game. And that used to be like what CTY would do almost every time. And Arteezy and CTY were widely regarded as the players that could just win their lane.
And they were two of the guys that, a bit like we talk about Sumail now, they were the two that were the upcoming brightest stars of Dota 2. Interesting how their paths have gone almost completely different directions.
There's like a lot of similarities between CTY and Sumail, where they are starting to do really well when there's guidance. Like CTY has RTK and Sumail has Fear. So I think that plays a huge role in their development as a player.
Yeah, it gives them the things that they weren't able to learn whilst playing the game and practicing the game almost as a solo player.
Yeah.
Really.
It's like refining their raw talent.
Yeah. How do we find more of them?
I don't know. Next best guy. It's really difficult. I saw Arteezy actually when he was before EG, and there was like some buzz about him, and I actually scrimmed against him a couple of times, but it's really difficult to identify young talent like that. But he really had the drive, and he had just so much raw talent. It was actually incredible. And PPD, I think, was actually the one that found him and refined him. So PPD seems to have a knack for this.
Seb, you've looked at a lot of players in the French scene, particularly. How do you go about what's the process for you? Hold on. Apparently, I've got a throw somewhere, but I didn't quite catch it. So hopefully I'll get that back. But go ahead and say what you were going to say.
I'd rather watch some Dota.
You want to watch some Dota?
I'm too excited for that game.
I want to watch some Dota as well. Let's head back to Toby.
Once again, breath is put into the game of Dota 2 as we go for complexity against evil geniuses. Game number 1, the first game of today, Sin. The first game of today.
It's been a very long game. 28 minutes and 40 seconds so far.
To give a recap in 30 seconds, Complexity came out, they played amazing, their rotations were amazing, they managed to come through, take out Tier 1, Tier 2 towers, they then tripped over a shoelace going into the EG base next to Tier 3 tower, problems ensued, and then we paused, we then came back, EG found a couple of kills, then we paused again as we watched Moonmeter get exploded on the top lane, even if we are jumping while we do it.
Yeah, Complexity had a lineup where, at least with their itemization, they needed to hit a timing window as far as like putting pressure on the enemy base. And when they tried to go for one base push, they kind of timed it poorly, I think. All in all, their decision making. The main thing is the itemization, where it's kind of disallowed them from finding pickoffs on the animation and really threatening fear. So EG are just playing the slow game here, where they're just split pushing with him, farming. When Complexity, the only way they can really gank him is with Cluck and Tusk and Clinks, I think. That's like, they need those three heroes together to bring down the Anti-Mage right now. So Fear is playing with a lot of confidence. As soon as he knows where Clinks is, as Matt pointed out quite a while ago, then he's feeling pretty safe split pushing. So that's the state of the game right now. All in all, though, I would say, you know, it might look like an even game just from the graphs, but just if you look at the way the game is flowing and who's ultimately better primed for late game, I think EG are feeling pretty comfortable with their position in the game right now.
They're going to be feeling fantastic about this, and especially when Feeder is able to get away with wasting so much time at Complexity. For the last minute to minute and a half, they smoked up inside their jungle, walked around the Dire Ancients, walked down the bottom lane, chasing after a ghostly Fear, who then blinks into the trees, TPs himself away to safety. At Complexity, it feels like they're running out of time when these things happen, as EG prolongs this game more and more, and Fear gets bigger and bigger. I don't know where they're meant to go from here.
Yeah, I'm curious what Complexity's read is on the game. It was discussed quite a bit by the panel, the Octarine core pickup by Queen of Pain, that I was also